It's the summer of 2022. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and I, of course, am inside playing Fate Grand Order on my phone. It was June, which was the release of Kiara Summer, which is a servant I had waited 2 years for. You can imagine I was beyond delighted when I managed to get this character super early. I think I used maybe a couple summon tickets, and that just solidified her as one of my favorite characters in the entire game. As an artist, I was so excited to show my love and appreciation for this character by immortalizing her in a beautiful digital painting. So I grabbed my iPad, opened Procreate, and I got to work on crafting my magnum opus, the most beautiful piece of art I will ever make. What's going on here? Well, it's not really what I was going for, but I'll just come back to it later.
2,000 years later.
So, yeah, I didn't get back to it until now. As you can probably tell, I was immediately overwhelmed by the complexity of this character, and I abandoned the sketch entirely. It sat in my Procreate backlogs for 3 years, and that brings us to today, May 18th, 2025. Many artists will be familiar with Mermaid, a monthly drawing challenge centered around drawing mermaids. After half a month of seeing mermaids left and right, I couldn't help but think of that dusty old sketch sitting in the back of my iPad. To this day, I still love Summer Kiara. In fact, since 2022, I've even managed to snag a second copy of her. So I figured, why not revisit the sketch and see if I can actually complete it this time? I'm not gonna lie, I was facing the same challenges as before, and it was still extremely difficult to overcome them. But I had more experience under my belt, and I had a feeling I could break through this time. So to start, let's tackle where I went wrong the first time. I have very little information about my process to go off of, as it seems I merged several layers together into this mess. From what I can tell, I only ever drew one sketch, and it was a messy one. This is not really typical of me, especially at that time, so I think I was just too eager to add some color to make up for the poor sketch. I feel like I remember thinking, this sketch can be super messy, the color blocking will definitely save me, and I can just render the details on top, easy peasy. Yeah, no, definitely not easy nor peasy, let me tell you. But on that note, let me take a moment to analyze the character. Kiara Summer's design is extremely complex, from her colors, to the outfit, to the absurd amount of tiny, intricate details. She has long tendrils of black hair, horns, little bows everywhere, tons of colors and patterns. She even has a veil billowing out behind her that you can barely even see in her original art. Now, I'm definitely not knocking her design. That's the whole reason I'm in love with her in the first place. But why did I choose to draw this, of all things? Just to punish myself? Now, back to my first attempt, I think that a major mistake I made here was not utilizing multiple layers for this design. I remember I was going through a period of huge success with single layer paintings, and I was riding that high for sure. But in this case, I think a work smarter, not harder approach would have benefited me a lot more. I should have taken the design in sections and placed individual pieces on different layers of the illustration. Her hair could be a whole layer on its own, for example. Another thing I noticed is that my colors were fairly muted compared to the original artwork. This could be influenced by the messy gray sketch layer on top, which certainly isn't helping. I need to be extra careful in round 2 to pick more vibrant colors for this character. And finally, I think the pose is okay, but I know I can do better. It's really easy to fall in love with the first sketch that you do, but I think a few more pose explorations could have really helped me out here. I think overall I bit off more than I could chew, and I just tried to brute force it. So let's keep these tips in mind as we attempt a do-over. This started off kinda rough, to be honest. From the start, I was intimidated all over again by the design, and I wasn't really sure how to bring out the best side of her when I was picking a pose. I kept running into issues where I found a nice pose, but it wouldn't work well with her outfit. Those large sleeves, in particular, proved to be really tricky to add without blocking the entire pose I worked so hard to draw. But unlike the first drawing, I actually did more than one sketch this time. And you know the saying, third time's the charm, and I ended up liking the third sketch I did the best out of all of them. As you can see here, I started off with a sketch, and I was really focusing on trying to black out the anatomy properly, because that was something that I really struggled with in the previous version, as you can probably tell. And I've been actually learning a lot about anatomy recently, so this was a time for me to flex those muscles a little bit and try something new, so that was really exciting. After getting that sketch down, I moved on to blocking all of the colors just completely flat. So minimal to no shading. Really, I think the only shading I added was behind the flowing, billowy parts of her sleeves, just to differentiate those a little bit. But in this stage, everything else was just a complete, flat, pure color. This go around, I chose very vibrant colors, which was one of my goals, to differentiate it from the last version. And I'm pretty happy with the colors I picked. Then after the flat colors were added, I added a little bit of cell shading and some few like small details here and there, mostly on her body and a little bit on her tail as well. Once I was satisfied with the colors, I moved on to the shadows. And for this, I just used a regular old multiply layer, turned down the opacity a little bit, and I clipped it to the layer below so that it would just be on her body essentially. And at this point, I also added the background, which was really simple. It was just a blue gradient with some beams of light coming down. And this helped me place the shadows because I knew where the light would be coming from. For the shadows, I also used the method of erasing them instead of drawing them on. So I filled the entire layer, all of her body, with shadow, and then I erased the parts that would be hit by the light. And that helped give it a more volumetric feel. As I'm going about creating this drawing, I'm definitely including lots of different details on different layers. And I'm super glad that I did that because with her hair and ribbons flowing all around, it really would have been impossible for me to edit anything. So for example, her veil, I was able to edit that later on and add a shadow to it, which I would not have been able to do if I was trying to paint everything on the same layer. So that helped and saved a lot of time for me, and it was really useful, and I didn't get as overwhelmed, which was good. So now was the point where I started focusing more on the tiny little details, which I actually really enjoyed. She has a lot of bows, like I mentioned before, lots of ribbons and flowy hair strands and like patterns and colors. And I just got to be really picky about it and really get into the nitty-gritty of it, which I enjoy. I think a lot of artists really like adding those details instead of focusing on the bigger picture, and that's kind of where I failed the first time, but in this case, I did my due diligence up until this point, and then I was finally able to get to those tiny details that I was excited about. By the end of the piece, I was just really trying to make sure that the character appeared to be underwater. So I added some extra details like little bubbles, I added more lighting effects like the caustics at the top of the piece, I added more light beams coming down. So it was really just a matter of trying to make sure that everything looked like it was sufficiently underwater and not in the air. And it also helped that I chose a pose that would be very flowy like this, so everything was flowing upwards, her hair is spiraling out, it looks very beautiful and serene. The very last thing I did on this painting was adjust the tail, the tip of it, because I had initially tried to make it seem like it was coming toward the viewer in my sketch, but I don't think I got the foreshortening right, and I just wanted it to look a little different, so I adjusted it and I'm a lot happier with the result now. So that was the last little detail I needed to add. With that, the do-over is complete. I'm obsessed with how it came out. I'm so proud of this piece. I think it looks so good. I love all the little details, the little tiny bubbles. I do feel like it looks like it's underwater. I love her expression and her pose, the colors I chose. I think I really redeemed myself with this one. I feel like I've grown a lot in 3 years. It's really clear looking at the side by side that I was way more confident on this piece than I was on the previous one. Not to mention I actually finished it this time, but I'm so happy that I finally got my idea that was in my head onto the paper. I would use this as a call to action to try something really hard. Take some time to brainstorm how you would accomplish it first, and you might actually be surprised at how capable you are. If it doesn't work out for you, you can always wait a while and try it again. Even if it takes 3 years, take it from me, it's worth it. But you should prove to yourself that you can do hard things. I'm already thinking about what I might be able to accomplish next, and I really hope you'll be there with me whenever that next thing pops up. But for now, thank you for coming on this 3-year-long journey with me, and I will see you next time. Enjoy this beautiful, beautiful fish.